Welcome back. Anti-Israel protests erupting on college campuses across the country. Columbia University students here in New York City have filed a federal civil rights complaint against the university. They claim that the school is discriminating against Palestinian students and protesters, creating a hostile environment for them. When the cops came to arrest demonstrators, the U.S. Department of Education still investigating reports of anti-Semitism on campus. Joining me now is former New York City Police Department Inspector, Fox News contributor, and the OpsDesk.org founder, lawyer Paul Mauro. Paul, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. How do you assess what's going on, taking place on all these universities? And now the Palestinians are saying that they're getting discriminated on.
Yeah, good luck with that. So this thing is actually going to get worse, and we should all be prepared for it. There were measures that could have been taken up front that might have tamped it down. I think that the trespass violation charges, which is really a glorified parking summons, was a mistake. I think it's likely all that the president of Columbia would accede to, but all it did was empower these folks, got them right back out there. Now we're going to be entering the summer protest season. You have all of this coordination going on from Democrat funding organizations and coordinating committees. It's all that kind of dark money that goes to not only candidates, but that we've seen in Occupy Wall Street and the quote-unquote Summer of Love in 2020. And so what do we have coming up? We have May Day coming up, which is a big day for them. But all of this could lead all the way to the DNC in Chicago, equidistant from New York, Minneapolis, even L.A. So Chicago is going to be it's almost going to look like 1968. This is a problem for the Dems. It's going to continue, but this lawsuit has no merit.
Well, there's a story this morning in the New York Post. It says George Soros is paying student radicals who are fueling nationwide explosion of Israel-hating protests. And in the piece, the Post writes this: all of these protests are being organized by branches of the Soros-funded Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP. And at some, students have clashed with police. We've been trying to figure out who's behind all of this because, Paul, obviously it's coordinated. They all have the same colored tents, the same colored outfits. Somebody's funding all of this. One of my guests yesterday said, don't be surprised if you learn more that it's the Communist China Party, the Communist Party of China behind it as well. But this Post story here is talking about this SJP parent organization. It's been funded by a network of nonprofits, ultimately funded by, among others, George Soros, the billionaire left-wing investor.
Yeah, we've seen this in the past. They use all of these dark money cutouts. The money is funded through subsidiaries so that it's difficult to follow. And that's why last Monday you saw when this all kicked off, these protests occurred simultaneously in cities across the country. This is before they occupied Columbia. But we had all these protests. I was out there, so I was up close on them. These protests look very, very much like Occupy. It's not just students. I've seen the ages of some of the arrestees. They're in their mid-20s. They're well past college age.
Wow.
And so you see that going on at the same time all over the country. They all have the same tents, the same placards.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's coordination. Somebody's pulling the strings.
Unbelievable. Meanwhile, what about the story of the day? House Judiciary Republicans say that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and the DA's office allowed political motivations and animus to infect the prosecutorial discretion in the so-called hush money case. The Judiciary Chairman, Jim Jordan, says that ex-New York prosecutor Mark Pomerantz put, quote, public pressure on Bragg to charge Trump, Paul. And people are looking at this trial and saying, we still don't understand what the crime is. And they're threatening years and years in prison for Donald Trump. What's the crime?
So you and I talked about this when the indictment originally came down, and it's gotten no clearer. We know that it's 34 counts, but it all goes to a felony in order to get under the statute of limitations based on a second crime that Alvin Bragg has still not elucidated. And that's the real problem. In a sense, Donald Trump still doesn't know specifically what he's charged with. And the reason for that is because the secondary charge is the one that's really problematic here. If it's a federal election charge, Bragg has no jurisdiction. And the case law in New York says you cannot use a federal statute here to bump the state charge. That's just the way the state case law goes. So realistically, it looks like he'd probably have to rely on a tax charge or something. But the problem with that is, why didn't he charge it? He has jurisdiction over that. And so, you know, the examination of this and why it was brought forward really has merit, because the case is almost certainly not going to hold up on appeal. And then you have to say to yourself, after everybody else passed on it, including Bragg's office originally, why did he go forward?
Unbelievable. This legal situation is going to feature prominently in New York, this verdict possibly in May or early June. I want to know what this means for the election. Meanwhile, really interesting hearing yesterday, President Trump speaking out about the first day of Supreme Court hearings on presidential immunity, where some of the justices seem to be open to granting some level of protection of immunity for President Trump. Watch this.
I think it was made clear, I hope it was made clear, that a president has to have immunity. You don't have a president, or at most you can say it would be a ceremonial president. That's not what the founders had in mind, and the justices were on their game. Presidential immunity is imperative, or you practically won't have a country anymore.
SCOTUS's? Paul, what did you think of some of the SCOTUS hearing yesterday?
So I've learned that it's always very, very difficult to try to read the tea leaves on them, and they were a little bit all over the place, obviously. But I think what we're likely looking at, if I had to guess, is they're trying to devise some sort of a test to ascertain when a president acts, if he's acting in official capacity or private interests. I think that test will likely come down as the majority, and this is, again, just a guess. There will be all kinds of dissents even within the majority. If we get a majority, that'll then go down to the lower courts, and then they're going to have to use that test to ascertain what happened here. And as Justice Gorsuch said, what that's going to involve is a little bit of looking into the mind of the president and trying to ascertain motive. Why was he doing what he was doing? And the outer limits of both sides of it, one, I think, was one side best articulated by Justice Jackson, and then the other side by Gorsuch. It really comes down to those two extremes because, as Gorsuch said, you are speaking to the ages. This is something that's going to be with us for the rest of our lives. All I would say is this. Remember something. Whether it devolves to the credit of the sitting president or not during an election, we should remember that it is part of the president's official duties to ensure that the integrity of our election system is sound, whether it cuts against him or not. And there's an argument that Donald Trump's actions, if he believed that the election had really been undermined, are within his official duties if he felt like it had been impugned.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna be watching that. By the way, it's good to see you. I wanted to ask you about Harvey Weinstein and that rape charge overturned in New York. Real quick, Paul.
Well, I think that's very significant, particularly for the Donald Trump case, because a lot of the Donald Trump case involves prior bad acts, and that's what got the Weinstein case thrown out. It's Molyneux and Sandoval are the two cases that are implicated. So that is likely going to matter if the case ever gets to appeal for Donald Trump. And let me just say, for this reason and others, I can just tell you and go to your top question, as a cop, not as a lawyer now, if I had brought this case into the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and asked them to go forward, they would have laughed me out of the room. It's only because his name is Trump. Count on that.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah, take it to the bank. I'm sure you're right. Paul, good to see you. Thanks very much. Paul Mauro joining us.